Mexico hitting back at President-elect Trump's tariff threats. The country's president, the Mexican president, suggesting they could retaliate with tariffs of their own now, putting a risk on common businesses on both sides of the border, notably the automakers. Joining us right now is Heritage Foundation Research Fellow Joel Griffith and Tomas Philipson, former acting chair of the Economic Council of Advisors to the Trump administration. He's now a professor emeritus of the University of Chicago. I want to thank both of you for joining us. I'll start with you, Joel. I know you put out a tweet that I saw I think you might have deleted at some point, but you seem very concerned about it, and I want to try to understand exactly what your concerns are at this point.
Well, good morning. Thanks for having me. Well, the big concern here is that tariffs are taxes. We know that at the end of the day, it's businesses and families in the United States that bear the cost of those tariffs. And Canada and Mexico are two of our biggest trading partners. We've had long-standing relationships with them now dating back to the early 1990s on free trade, thanks to NAFTA. And we have seen an economic boom to middle-class families since NAFTA was passed. Real family incomes have risen by $28,000 per year, and our total manufacturing output is actually up 40% during those 4 decades of free trade. Now, if we actually did see a 25% universal tariff place on those imports coming in from Canada and Mexico, just on those two countries alone, that could result in $1,500 a year of annual taxes on American families. And I think a lot of us just don't think about all the products in particular from Mexico that we get. But if you look at that top 10 list coming from Mexico, you've got things, of course, like beer, tequila, but also tomatoes, avocados, blueberries, raspberries. All of those items would be impacted. And in fact, I ran the numbers just on the beer component because beer is on the top 10 list. A 25% annual tariff just on the beer component alone, that's about $20 extra a year per family. This would be a tough burden for families to bear after 4 years of Bidenomics.
Joel, there's no question that you're right that if these were to go into effect, it would have a meaningful economic impact. But Thomas, I'd ask a different question, which is, for some reason, the markets don't believe it's going to happen. Otherwise, you'd think that they would have moved in a different direction, no?
I think the markets are smarter than the Econ 101 discussion of taxes, which is we're going to use our economic leverage over these countries to fix a crisis where hundreds of thousands of people are dying, essentially, where alternatives have not worked in the past. And the way to think about this more accurately, I think, is think of the analogy to regular wars when you think about trade wars. We want to basically have peace through strength, meaning when that's the case, we have a very big stick that we can impose on countries. But ideally, we don't use the stick, just as we don't use our nuclear weapons. But people know we have nuclear weapons and therefore stay peaceful. So these countries rely on U.S. way more than we rely on them. We're, 85% of Mexican exports go to U.S., 75% of Canadians do. About a quarter of GDP of each country, roughly, is in trade with U.S. So the key is to think of this as a threat that's not used. That's what happened, for example, with French wine tariffs under the first Trump administration, which sort of made the French step back from Thomas, digital taxes on the U.S.
I don't mean to interrupt, but the other component part is we heard from the Mexican president yesterday that there aren't caravans coming. I don't know if you believe her or not. She would tell you, as I think the numbers would suggest, that the number of illegal immigrants coming into the country in this past year compared to the year before has gone down. So I'm not here to suggest that we don't have a problem. I believe a problem still exists. The question is what kind of levers you ultimately believe that Mexico and Canada can push on and how quickly they could do that to satisfy whatever you think would prevent these tariffs from actually taking place.
I mean, the key is that we put pressure on them. We have not done that in the past. And then it's up to, immigration policy to fall in line with that threat of that pressure, essentially. And those immigration policies that we instituted in the first administration was obviously abandoned by the regulations were abandoned by the Biden administration. And immigration policy wasn't enforced at all. So the other countries took advantage of that. Now we're going to have an enormous pressure with a big stick, essentially, to say, if you don't fall in line, here's something we can do. With the ultimate goal is to not use them, just like any, peace through strength argument is. Don't use it, but have the stick.
Hey, Joel, can I just ask, what was your tweet and why did you take it down?
My focus has been on the danger of tariffs overall and how American families are impacted. I try to be cautious in how I phrase all of that because this is it's become a political football in many ways. But American families right now are still suffering from the tariffs that were put in place back in 2019 under the last administration that were continued by President Biden. Those are tariffs on aluminum, on steel. Those items that have been impacted by those tariffs that we're still dealing with today are refrigerators, air conditioning units.
But what did you say, and what caused I guess you got a blowback. That's why you took it back. What did you say that caused the blowback, and how it must have been pretty significant for you to take the tweet down?
Well, I think there's a lot of discussion right now too about what role Congress has to play in tariffs as well. The president has a lot of power under the Trade Act of 1974 to unilaterally act tariffs. That was given to the president by Congress. It was a delegation of constitutional duties. Right. And right now there's a debate in Congress occurring about whether or not that power to unilaterally impose tariffs by the president should be restricted. There's some Democrats and Republicans that fall on both sides of that. But the bottom line is here, tariffs are regressive taxes, and American workers
but Joel, let me
go into effect.
Joel, I apologize for interrupting, but let me actually, I've got the tweet here. This was the tweet that was deleted, and I just want you to react to it directly, if you could. And it goes to the point you were just making. Quote, Congress should act now to deny the incoming president the power to impose massive tax hikes on American families and businesses next year. So effectively, you're arguing that Congress should put in place a law that would prevent the incoming president from using executive actions in this regard. Is that what the original tweet seems to suggest? And are you saying that you agree or disagree with what you wrote?
Well, this is a proposal that has been in place most recently by Senator Rand Paul, and I think it's important to look at why this is necessary. Back in the 1970s, as we were liberalizing our trade here in the United States, a lot of Congress people they wanted free trade, but they didn't want to impact the local industries. And so Congress delegated to power under sections of that Trade Act, the power to act on tariffs on its own. The goal of Congress was to actually lower tariffs. But now we have seen president after president use those powers under the Trade Act to act without express congressional permission to impose new tariffs. I believe it is time for Congress to reconsider whether or not they want to continue delegating their constitutional power to tax to the president. It's time for Congress to reassert itself, not just on this issue, but on many issues in which the executive branch has been crafting regulations over our businesses. And in this instance, where the president now has the power to impose new taxes.